Welcome to tonight's meeting of the Environment and Planning Committee. I declare the meeting open at 7 p.m. Acknowledgement of country. I'd like to acknowledge the Bidjigal people of the Eora Nation, who are the traditional custodians of all lands, waters and sky in the Georges River area. I pay my respects to elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples who live, work and meet on these lands. There are no apologies tonight, are there? And there were no requests to join via audio-visual link. Notice of live streaming of council meeting. Staff and public are reminded that this meeting is being recorded for minute-taking purposes and is also being broadcast live to the public on council's website in accordance with section 5 of council's code of meeting practice. The recording will be made available on council's website. Code of meeting practice. The order of business is shown in the agenda, which has been made available. Staff and public are reminded that this meeting is open. Doors to the meeting room are to be left open unless the meeting moves into a closed confidential session, according to section 14 of the Code of Meeting Practice. Only if the meeting moves into a closed confidential session will the public broadcasting of the meeting be suspended. Council's Code of Meeting Practice prohibits the electronic recording of meetings without the express permission of council. Mobile phones must be turned to silent during the meeting. Next item is disclosure of interest. Do any councillors have any interest to declare? Okay, there's no disclosures. And there's no speakers registered for tonight's forum. First item is confirmation of minutes of previous meeting. ENV 03124, confirmation of minutes of Environment and Planning Committee meeting held on 8th of July 2024. Can I get a mover and seconder, please? Councillor Lansbury and Councillor Jamieson. Thank you. And I'll just go around the room if we could, please.
Madam Deputy Mayor.
4.
Councillor Marnie.
4.
Councillor Ambi Haperha.
4.
Councillor Jamieson.
4.
Councillor Catras.
4.
Councillor Lansbury.
4.
Councillor Wang.
4.
7 votes for, unanimous.
Thank you. I declare that carried. First committee report is ENV 03224, investigation of missed waste collection services and appropriate actions to resolve. Before we move to any discussion, I'll ask Ms. Ballasty from the staff to give us an overview, please.
Through the chair, thanks. Hi, councillors. This report tonight is in response to a recent notice of motion dated May, with regards to seeking an update report on any missed waste collection services for a period of 2 months, so since 1st of March to 30th of April 2024. Whilst missed waste collection services do occasionally happen from time to time, there may be a couple of reasons why they do occur. One could be contractor-led, so due to an operational issue such as a vehicle breakdown, an obstructed bin, for example, or it could be community-led, so it could be a cause of perhaps a overfilled bin or a bin containing incorrect materials, so for example a recycling bin containing waste. This report asked us to review recent missed services in that 2-month period, and we've done so. The results are quite pleasing, so it is positive, a bit of a positive news story, this one. In the 2-month period, there were only 832 missed collection services. So across all the services that we provide, all the waste collection services that are provided, that's less than 0.5% of all services provided. That's quite a good baseline service. It is within our current KPI levels in the current waste collection service, and those KPIs and baseline levels were approved by the 2 former councils when the current waste collection services were executed. In terms of how we control any missed waste services that occur, as prompted by the collection contractor, we control them through In-field inspections, we may impose penalties where there has been a service failure. So, for example, if the missed services is caused by Veolia, so the waste collection contractor, they will be held accountable for that and penalised under approved and agreed contract management, performance management measures. The report also asked us to address the waste hotline service. So in terms of reviewing the availability of the waste hotline service, so that is the service whereby residents can call council's waste collection contractor and report any missed services. That service is currently available Monday to Friday during just slightly more than business hours, so 8:30 to 5:30. It's not available on the weekends. We do instead offer the Log It Fix It platform, which is available to residents 24/7, and that's available on council's website. So residents can still record and report any missed waste collection services directly to council, and that's then forwarded directly to the waste collection contractor. And finally, we do have a new waste collection contract, which is commencing this year. There are a number of measures in the new waste collection contract that we've let you know about over the last couple of years as we've progressed through that project. A number of those matters are focused on reducing missed waste collection services and also holding the contractor to account when they do occur. So we've reduced the KPIs and we've increased the penalties as further deterrence for any missed waste collection services or service failures. Yeah, that's it. Thank you. Any questions?
Okay, that's thank you, Ms. Ballasty. Before we discuss this report, can I call for a mover and seconder?
Oh, sorry.
Councillor Wang, Councillor Jamieson.
Yeah. So, yeah,
Any questions?
yes, I have. Yes, because I raised the initial motion. So first, I would like to thank the council staff for producing such a good report. And so I may have some just follow-up question or comments. So just 1 or 2 months ago, we have a market campaign for the new service, rubbish collection service. So how we going? Because we are going, the new contract will start from September, right? So how we started the communication? That's the first question.
Through the chair. The new waste collection contract is due to commence in September. There will be a phased rollout of certain aspects within that contract. The communications have commenced, so residents may have recently received the latest rates insert, which has been rolled out just over the last couple of weeks since late July. That rates insert contains a bunch of information on the reverse side about the waste collection contract and services that are being provided as new in the 24-25 financial year. There's also a lot of information available on council's website, which is regularly updated and provides all the community with information about the new changes that are coming. And we're still progressing with our communications plan. So we, back in June, we briefed the councillors on our communications plan. So that is still in motion, and we're working towards the actions that we discussed with you all at that briefing then.
Okay, thank you. So the other question, probably I didn't quite capture the information. So we are asking for like a more easier access for the service for missing the collection reporting. So what have we done there?
Through the chair. If I've understood the question correctly, so under the new waste collection contract, there will be additional data collection measures. That will be through use of technology predominantly, so things such as onboard or in-vehicle collection cameras to assist with confirming when a bin has actually been serviced. And the data that is captured as a result of the operations will be captured in real time, available to council at any moment. The missed services, the contractor will know once a missed service has occurred, because the bin won't register with the truck when it has been serviced. So the contractor will also know in real time any missed services that reduces the need on the community to actually report it to us as well.
And that's interesting one, because in my original motion I said extended from say 5 days to 6 days, because some of the collection happens over the weekend. But if with the new technology, automatically we wouldn't know. So without even the need for the resident to report.
That's
that
correct. That's correct.
Okay, so just make sure I understand. Thank you. Yeah.
No problem.
Any other questions from councillors? No, in that case, I'll put the motion. And I don't think we need to go around the room, do it. It's not a planning matter, so all those in favour, say aye. Anyone against?
Sorry, Mr. Chair, we do need to go around the room.
Sorry.
Yep.
Vicky, thanks.
I'll do a division. Madam Deputy Mayor.
For.
Councillor Marnie.
For.
Councillor Amby Haberhart.
For.
Councillor Jamison. For. Councillor Catras.
Sorry, I was busy.
ENV 03224.
03 is it 33 to
03224.
Page 4.
32. On 4.
Councillor Lansbury.
For.
Councillor Wang.
For.
7 votes for, unanimous.
Okay. Declare that carried. Thank you. The next item is ENV 03324, review of e-waste events and future community recycling events. And before we move to any discussion, I'll ask Mr. Spooner to give us an overview, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The reason this report has been provided tonight is in response to some community concerns about the last e-waste event that occurred at the Carlton Depot in May, and it was through a notice of motion by Councillor Konjalski, asking us to review the services that were provided there to see what could be done to overcome some of those issues. In doing so, we've realised that in some ways we are a victim of our own success, in that the number of vehicles that attend these services now have increased by about 60%, and the number of materials that are collected have increased by 40%. This was also exacerbated by our success in achieving a grant application through the EPA to include 3 additional waste streams into those collection services, which was polystyrene, cardboard and hard plastics. As a result of that, it has become difficult to use this smaller and constrained Carlton Depot as compared to the depot at Mortdale, and the configuration of the depot has impacted from a risk point of view as well. So in looking at how we operate these matters in the future, what we're suggesting in the recommendations, and in the previous resolution we had from council back in 2021, we looked at providing e-waste and recycling events on an alternating basis between Carlton and Mortdale, which is all very fair and equitable, and it's a wonderful thing. And I think we've moved on as a council and also as a community, and I think we're one organisation now. And I think also looking at some of the data we've received from our adjoining councils at Canterbury, Bankstown and Sutherland, that a 20-minute travel time to one of these events is not uncommon, and it's quite acceptable by members of the public to do that. We have to remember that these events are also open to anybody in the state. They're not just confined to people who live in our LGA. So they are a broad-facing community activity, which we host with the support of the providers and the EPA. So what we're suggesting we do, rather than do alternating, we look at what venue capacity we have and what each venue is best suited to deal with. And look, it's difficult to estimate how many vehicles we're going to get at each event, but in practical terms, if you get more than 500 vehicles at Carlton, it's going to have problems. You're going to get complaints. So in moving forward, we may find that we can still host e-waste events at Carlton, but we can't, I guess, add on additional services to that, which we've done recently with the cardboard and polystyrene and hard plastics. So we might find that it becomes a single service event at the Carlton Depot, whereas at the bigger Mortdale Depot, we can add on additional streams to be recycled, which we've done, and there has been no no complaints or feedback from that. So the recommendation is that we move away from the alternating, but give the general manager the delegation to make that decision based on operational needs, based on some advice from staff on which venue we should be using for certain activities. And that's pretty much the summary of where we're heading with this, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thanks, thanks, Mr. Spooner. Can I call for a mover second, please? Councillor Lansbury and Councillor Jamieson. Thank you. And any questions or discussion from the councillors, please? Councillor Lansbury.
Thanks, Mr. Chair, and welcome back to the chair. It's lovely to see you back.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make some comments on it if I could. I think I mentioned this when we discussed the motion in the council meeting. I utilised that event and I was the last car there that day and I made 2 trips. I found it really well organised. Obviously, there were some problems earlier in the day, but I think the criticism is a little bit harsh given the fact that the range of products you could drop off, and I for one utilised all 3, e-waste, polystyrene and cardboard, and had to do 2 trips because my car's not that big. And perhaps, as you say, Mr. Spooner, the fact that you can't restrict anybody, you can't say it's just for residents or ratepayers, and that it was rather more than just old TVs or printers, things like that. That probably created a bit of the crush. But I think the staff that worked there were really efficient, and just my experience of it, I think that the criticism is a little bit harsh. Sometimes people expect a bit much, and I think that they did a very good job that day.
Thank you for your positive feedback.
Any other questions or comments from the councillors?
I just have a question to the manager. Do you think that it's the best way to do it, having the e-waste with the other services? Like, is that meaning we can streamline staff and services, or is that how the EPA provides funding, or what's the rationale for having them all together like that?
Through you, Mr. Chair, look, I think co-locating services like that is beneficial where we can. I guess that's the difficulty, and that's why we're suggesting that the Mortdale it works. I mean, clearly there's capacities in every venue, but at the moment, co-locating those 4 different streams at Mortdale works, and I think it makes sense because, as Councillor Lansbury said, she attended with different streams in her car and could move them around to the facility and get them removed from her vehicle at the one time, rather than having separate events on separate days, having to duplicate resources, duplicate staff time, and doing multiple events over multiple days wouldn't be probably the best use of resources. But I think we've just got to look at our capacities and our ability to do things, and perhaps we were a bit optimistic about what we could provide at Carlton, and then possibly maybe the criticism was a bit harsh, but I think, looking at from a risk point of view, we've got to consider the impact on the staff and facilities as well, and how that can be best managed in the future.
Thanks, Mr. Spooner. Are there any other questions from the councillors or comments? Okay, in that case, I'll put the motion, and we'll go around the room with this, please.
Madam Deputy Mayor?
For.
Councillor Marnie?
4.
Councillor Amby Haverhar?
For.
Councillor Jamieson?
For.
Councillor Catras?
For.
Councillor Lansbury?
For.
Councillor Wang?
For.
7 votes for, unanimous.
Okay, declare that one carried. Thank you. The next item is EMV 03424, Zero Litter to Georges River, Progress Update Report 2024. And before we move to any discussion, I'd like to ask Mr. Simpson from the staff to give us an overview, please.
Thank you, through the chair. This report is the second Zero Litter Progress Update report to Council, with the first report being provided to Council in July 2022. This report outlines the results from Council's programs and infrastructure systems over the past 2 financial years to reduce litter entering the Georges River, and highlights the positive progress Council is making towards meeting the adopted targets of zero litter to Georges River in the local government area by 2030. Since the last progress report in 2022, Council has implemented a number of new programs and initiatives to reduce litter entering into the Georges River from land, terrestrial land above the mean high water mark. Some of these initiatives include the development of Council's sustainable event management guidelines to reduce litter and single-use plastic at Council events, installation of hook and line bin trial at fishing hotspots along the Georges River to reduce fishing litter, the development of a litter prevention strategy by Georges Riverkeeper for the Georges River in 2023 in collaboration with member councils, increased participation at council's e-waste events with additional items offered for collection, and lastly, an online booking system for curbside cleanups to reduce illegally dumped waste. Statistics as outlined in this report show that there's been a decline in litter removed from the Georges River waterway in 23-24 under the Georges River Keepers Catchment Action Program of litter collection along the foreshore. The programs and mechanisms outlined in these reports have helped contribute to the reduction of litter in the Georges River and aims to meet the adopted targets of zero litter to Georges River by 2030. Council will continue to roll out targeted community education on waste, continuing partnering with Georges Riverkeeper and exploring further avenues to reduce litter entering the Georges River from above the mean high water mark. The recommendations of this report is that Council note that a further progress update report will be provided every 2 years in line with Council's resolution dated 22nd of June 2020. The next progress report will be provided to Council in 2026. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Simpson. Can I call for a mover and seconder, please? Councillor Jamieson and Councillor Bork. And is there any questions from the council? Is there any discussion?
I have a question, and it might be a really dumb one, so I apologise. But I'm just trying to find, like, how do you measure it? Like, is it so it's on the, like, you're not doing all the rubbish in there, it's just what's on the surface, but you keep saying something above the water level.
Through the chair. Yeah, so with the litter collection, it is, because it's such a broad catchment with a number of member councils, litter can be collected through air, land and water. It's a pretty much an overview of what council's done on terrestrial land, which means above the high water mark. This includes like GBT audits, the removal of rubbish from GBTs. The Riverkeeper more focus on river litter in the waterway itself. So they do a lot of on-ground litter collection, and that's where the statistics in the report are obtained from.
Who removes all those vehicles? I can't believe there's that many vehicles that are, like, they're just...
Through the chair, the abandoned vehicles you're referring to, those are reported to council, and council's rangers investigate and determine whether they're abandoned or not.
Okay, are there any other questions or comments from the councillors? Okay, I'd just like to say major advances there in the amount of litter being collected, and yeah, very much appreciated by the environmental lobby. Thank you. So we can move to a vote now and go in the room for that.
Madam Deputy Mayor.
For.
Councillor Marnie.
For.
Councillor Amber Haperhart.
For.
Councillor Jamieson.
For.
Councillor Catras.
For.
Councillor Lansbury.
For.
Councillor Wang.
For.
7 votes for, unanimous.
Thank you. I declare that carried.
Changing the guard, I'm sorry.
No worries.
They're leaving.
Sure. Okay, the next item is ENV 03524 Draft Principal Certified Complaints Policy 2024 Outcome of Public Exhibition. And before we move to any discussion on this item, I'd like to ask Rebecca Hosking from the staff to give us an overview. Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Speaker. There were a total of 10 submissions received during the public exhibition of the Principal Certifier Complaints Policy. 8 of the submissions were very supportive of the policy as well as Council's certification campaign. 1 submission wasn't related to the policy, and 1 submission was received from the AAC, the Association of Accredited Certifiers, and that strongly opposed the draft policy as well as Council's certification campaign. It was from this submission that the 2 main changes to the policy have been made. Firstly, the title. The draft Principal Certifier Complaints Policy title infers that the policy relates to complaints about certifiers rather than about council's handling of complaints over a construction site where a private certifier has been appointed as a principal certifier. The policy, also the title, has subsequently been changed to the Draft Principal Certifier and Council Responsibilities Policy 2024. Secondly, all inference of principal certifiers taking responsibility of or managing a construction site has been replaced with wording from the practice standard for registered certifiers, which specifies the exact role of the principal certifier and avoids generalizations like management and responsibility. For example, section 2.1.5, the phrase take responsibility of the development site has been replaced with the role of the principal certifier as it is described on page 10 of the practice standard for registered certifiers, volume 2. Using that official wording does make the policy slightly more long-winded than initially intended, but it ensures that council is safe from inflating a principal certifier's role on the development site, which was a major concern of the AAC submission. Similarly, all inference to council's limitations have been removed, specifically reference to council's limited access to certification documentation by the New South Wales Planning Portal before the certifier has uploaded those documents, as well as council's limited authority over a construction site when a private certifier has been appointed principal certifier. The policy now reflects only the legislative responsibilities of both council and private certifiers, thus avoiding the risk of minimising council's legislative power. Other than these wording phrasing changes, the policy remains largely unchanged since before going on exhibition. The wording changes have not impacted the messaging of the policy, and it still achieves its purpose of outlining the role of council, the role of the principal certifier, Building Commission New South Wales, as well as the owners and builders. Section 5 of the draft policy retains 10 clear scenarios in which council will act on the complaints received, whether or not we're the principal certifier, and these scenarios were very well received during the exhibition period, especially scenario 5.1.7, which related to the protection of trees. The draft principal certifier and responsibilities policy is recommended for council adoption, and based on the goals of the certification campaign that were raised in 2022 and 23, it will be referred to LG New South Wales and SS ROC to be used as a template across New South Wales should the policy be passed by council. Thanks.
Thanks, Ms. Hodgkin, for that very comprehensive report. I noticed there's 2 lights on, so who's moving it? Who's second?
Councillor Jamieson.
Councillor Jamieson moved.
Councillor
Thank you.
first. I'll second it.
And Councillor Catras seconded. Thank you. Okay, is there any discussion?
Yeah, I'm
Yes,
quite
ma'am.
excited because thank you for saying about the SS Rock and stuff like that. And I noticed that the association was quite was not happy about co-regulation at all, but we're still pursuing it with SS Rock and still going to. And how's it all going? Because I know that Meryl was running it at the time. Is she still involved? And
Through Mr. Chair, firstly, the AAC submission, you're right, it was strongly opposed to the policy as well as the certification campaign. Every point made by the AAC has been taken into account and included in the draft updates to the draft policy. As far as the certification campaign goes, yes, Meryl has she made the contact and set the goals. That is now being run by Mr. Hill.
Are there any other questions from the councillors, please?
no. Anything else? So we're just waiting for this to go through before it can go any further. Is that right?
Through Mr. Chair, with this document and other recent notices of motion around CDCs and private certifiers, we're basically saying we're in a position where we can push on all our local government bodies, including possibly motions to the local government conference and the like, So it's all coming together. I haven't gone and got back to the AAC or anything. It wouldn't be a bad idea. But at the moment, between this piece of work and a couple of notices of motion that I've seen, we've got plenty of ammunition to push on, not only just the development industry themselves and the way we operate, but our main lobbying group, so that that message goes across more councils and ROCs as well.
Yeah, I'd like to say a few words through the chair.
Councillor Campbell.
I don't know how to start on this one. The reason behind it is that I preferred your first edition. The first edition that went out on public exhibition, because what that first edition had, it actually talked about the realities of the situation. And unfortunately, I feel that the Association of Private Certifiers, and let's face it, they're a private company, a private group, they're not a government group, have put forward cases to actually, I don't know, subdue what they do and basically throw it back onto the council. Sorry, I'm getting a bit hot on the collar here. I feel that what you had in the beginning was most appropriate. For instance, let's give you a couple of examples. I'll go to, I've marked the whole thing right through and basically said, let's go back to the first issue. Now, you may not like that because I understand you want to move forward. I want to keep some of these private certifiers happy, which I don't care about. But I do feel when you see this, let's look at this. And with all due respect, I'm not criticising you. It's just that the private certifiers have their own vested, whatever they call it. Anyway, this is what's been deleted. When a private certifier is appointed as the PC, that's been deleted. It is the PC's responsibility, blah, 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 to cut it. I'm on page 6. It is also the private certifier's responsibility to upload building plans and reports to the New South Wales State Government's planning portal, as stipulated under section XYZ. Now, the planning portal, as we all know, is useless. Totally and utterly useless. It lacks transparency. It's not in the best interest of the community. And everything is put up there behind closed doors. I know my nephew, who deals with this all the time, I don't deal with it much anymore, basically said to me, the only people that have got access to the information on the portal are the private certifiers involved with the job, 2, maybe a town planner if permission is given by the owner, and 3, who was it? Council. But council's hamstrung. Council cannot give you any information unless it's a DA, a development application that has been dealt by council. All the complying development certificates and complying development information is, how can I put it, kept behind closed doors. I've seen, and through the, how can I put it, through the, let's say the good nature of one of our council officers, I ended up getting a copy. Well, I wasn't allowed to get a copy, sorry. I ended up seeing something on a screen. And you are allowed to look at it on a screen. It's not against the law, right? So I looked at it. The dual occupancy, which is a compliant development, went from 5.5 metres setback in the front all the way to the back, 6 metres from the back boundary, 2 stories of it, 900 millimetres away from the side boundary. Now, I've got people in various suburbs coming to me and saying, what can we do about this compliant development issue? I've got a dual occupancy coming up next week. Why can't I complain? What you're going to get, if you're lucky, when he's about to issue the certificate, the occupation certificate, you've got 2 weeks to have a look at the plans. 2 weeks. But you're not allowed to object. And you can't take copies, and you're not allowed, and they don't have to give you copies. So this is a sham as far as I'm concerned. It's a great big sham. Now, and then we've got this. For more information, assessment development certificate. It talks about we're not going to be able to look at the construction certificate drawings, and you don't. You're not allowed to have a look at them. And then it goes on to say, and limited access. This is what the Private Certifiers Association crossed out. And limited access to various professional reports that may be produced during the construction phase. For example, engineering certification, survey information. These reports are only lodged on the New South Wales Government Planning Portal by the private sector once an occupation certificate has been issued. What use is that? They've crossed it out. Yeah, let's go on. And I think it's important that you listen to this, because I've had enough of this covering up for private certifiers. I use them every day.
Point of
You're
order.
not covering up for
Point of
private
order, Mr. Chair.
I apologise.
Can Mr. Chair, can Councillor Catchell stick to the merit of the policy that's at hand rather than the actual
I'm doing
legislation
that.
that
sorry.
the county officers are bound by, which is state government
Deputy Mayor,
legislation?
I am looking at them. I'm reading from it.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Ball. Councillor Catchus, can we stick to the report?
Yeah, I'm sticking to the report.
Thank you.
I'm looking at the things that have been crossed out. That's the report. The policy clarifies the differing roles between council, private certifiers and the Building Commission, New South Wales, and explains council's ability to assist with complaints against the PC. It also covers the responsibilities of property owners and builders in relation to development sites. That's all been crossed out. Now, you go to another page, the one that really got to me is page 9, and I do apologise to the director and to both of you if there was any influence that you might be doing. I'm just, not happy. If the private certifier council has no authority over the actions of the PC, council becomes the keeper of the records and is not directly involved in the management of the development site. The PC is an independent regulator. That's been crossed out. And then it says once available on the New South Wales Planning Portal, determination of documentation is subject to council's access to information. I've looked at council's access to information. You're going to get nothing.
Excuse me, Councillor Catchus. We're talking about the report that the staff have put into the committee.
Sorry?
We're talking about the report the staff put into the committee. We're not sort of shooting holes in it, trying to find fault with it.
It's not a matter of finding fault.
This is a submission by a private organisation.
I'm actually looking at things that won't work for the community. They're not going to help the community. Ask the community how they can get access. Anybody can ask them how they can get access to a complying development set of drawings.
Can I ask a question, please, Mr.
Sure,
Chair, to the director? To the director, could you please provide clarification if the changes that are being made to this policy are just reflecting the reality that the council is bound by with the state government legislation? So the policy, is it just amended to clarify the bounds of which we must work within, or are we making other changes outside of that? If I could please put that question to the director.
Thank you. The director. To Ms. Hossie, please, if you can address that. Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Yes, essentially Councillor Catchus, I hear what you're saying, and we have we've tried to address these issues through the letters that we've written based on motions. We've received really good feedback from the Department of Planning, Housing and Infrastructure about publicising and public access to CDC plans via the New South Wales Planning Portal. We essentially, I just want to recap the AAC submission. Essentially, accused the policy of being misleading, unsubstantiated. There's a note or quote from the submission saying it's based on shaky foundations, assertions and misunderstandings of regulatory regime. Because this is objectively a high-profile policy that will be sent, but based on our own council's promises, will be sent to SS Rock and LG New South Wales. All submissions are respected and responded to, but this one in particular, we needed to ensure that the policy did not have any generalizations, did not exacerbate any community misconceptions, and directly reflects legislation as well as the practice standard handbook for registered certifiers. By doing that, by the wording and phrasing changes, we've ensured that policy is stronger and can be used across New South Wales should any other council follow this council's lead if this is passed.
Thanks, Ms. Hosking. Any other questions or comments from councillors?
Can I just ask one question? It says here on page 11 that the Building Commission in New South Wales do not have power to do the following: order building work to stop, act on complaints against property owners unless the owner is an owner builder, declare a development certificate invalid even if it was issued improperly, investigate general complaints. I thought the Building Commission had the right to stop work.
Through Mr. Chair, that we have again tied the policy back directly to the currently it's a Fair Trading New South Wales, but it's administered by the Building Commission New South Wales. We've tied it back to their website so that our policy, the draft policy that we put on, that we've amended from exhibition, there's no room for misinterpretation. This policy reflects the website directly, and though that quote that you're reading that's been deleted, that's not currently on the website. And I couldn't take the liberty of using it, even though it was previously on exhibition. We just have to relate it back.
So you're saying the Building Commission of New South Wales has no authority to stop work?
It can issue stop work orders, and that has been.
But that's not what it says here. Page 11 or 16. And just for clarity, I did get something here from my group of solicitors, and it does say they have the authority to examine, inspect, and take and remove samples, make examination cards, blah 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 blah, copy of records, and there's stop work orders, prohibition orders, and rectification orders. So I think that if that was meant to say something else, then I think it should be corrected.
Anything else want to take on notice of the council meeting?
I just have to clarify on page 10 of the amended report.
Page 11.
But sorry, on page 10 there's section 2.3.4. The Building Commission New South Wales does not have the power.
Does not have the power to do the following.
Okay, I'll take it on notice.
Through to councillors, that will need a bit of further explanation. There might be something behind that we're missing, and we'll amend that for the council meeting coming up. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Hill.
Mr. Chair, based on the question from Councillor Catras now, can I propose that this item be deferred to the full council meeting so that can be clarified and briefed to the councillors in advance, if the councillors are happy with that?
I'll second that.
So just defer this item to the full
Okay, so the suggestion from Councillor Borg is to defer this item to the full council meeting at the end of the month. So that comes an amendment.
I suppose it would, yeah. Vicky, will that be an amendment?
Well, no, really, so.
I said mover and seconder. Who was it?
The mover accepts and the seconder accepts, and it's working. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't have a problem with it.
Okay, well, we're just getting the wording right here. Mr. Hill suggests we say that the Commission, so we defer this item to the full council meeting, pending clarification of 2.3.4 of the draft policy. Is that okay with the movement? Okay, is that amendment okay?
Yeah.
Councillor Jamieson, Councillor Catras.
Sorry?
Is that amendment okay?
Yeah.
Right, thanks. Any other questions from councillors or comments?
I would just like to make a comment to, whilst the staff is here, that the amendments that I've seen to the report, I think do provide clarity in the language. I can see where the industry body had some concern with some potential bias originally in the language, and I feel that the amended changes have just made it very factual and very based on information. So when I was reading the changes, I thought they seemed very clear. So I support the recommended changes that are in that policy.
Thanks, Councillor Bork. Councillor Lansbury.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Same here, actually. I think that they're sensible amendments, given the fact that this puts us a lot more forward than where we were before. We've been moving motions and writing to the state government since about 2018 to get some reform in this sector. You know, the Lambert report in 2019 made, I think, 17 recommendations, and I don't think any of them were adopted to deal with the private certifiers. This, I think, is a big step forward. It's obviously its first iteration, really, for our council, so I would have been happy to have supported it in its current form. It was clear to me, but maybe I missed the bit that Councillor Catras was concerned about. It's really important that there is a bit of certainty that is given to the residents, and by changing just things like from complaints policy to responsibilities, I think makes that a lot clearer as to how this process should work. Because that's one of the concerns, one of the many concerns that is brought to us as councillors, is that has been no clarity, and it seems to be confusing to them. Complying development, as we know, I've said very many times, private certifiers and complying development are both tools of the devil. There needs to be reform in the sector, but whilst private certifiers are allowed to exist under the current legislation, there's not a whole lot we can do rather than work with it. So I think we probably still need to continue lobbying the state government for more change in this sector, because until such time as legislatively, if that's the correct word, those changes are made, we're not going to get a whole lot of traction with it. But anyway, I think it's a good thing. If we're going to defer it to the council meeting, so be it, if that's what the majority of councillors want. But I do think that the amendments that have been made so far are quite sensible.
Thanks, Councillor Lansbury. Councillor Catras.
Just one question. I moved a motion that may not have anything to do with this one. I moved a motion in the last council to write to the Minister of Planning. How's that going?
Mr. Speaker, it's gone very well in terms of actually getting a response from the Department of Planning.
So you've sent it, have you?
I've sent it. We've got a response as well, and I'm just checking to make sure that we have provided that to you, and that may actually form part of the supplementary documentation for us to blur into issues. But you can take from that if you haven't been provided, then it will be provided to you shortly. Yes.
Thank you.
And just clarifying that the motion's just been clarified as per the director's comments, that this item be deferred to the ordinary council meeting scheduled for 26th of August 2024 to seek clarification on item 2.3.4 of the draft policy. So
Thanks, Councillor Bull. Okay, are there any other questions or comments from the councillors? Okay, I'd just like to acknowledge the work on this very complicated project by the staff, and also the energy that Councillor Jamis has put into this issue since she came to council a couple of years ago. So thanks for that. So we're now going to vote that this item will be. Oh, sorry. Okay, so we just leave it at that, do we? Okay. So we okay. Can I get everyone in favour of the motion say yes or hands up? Thank you. Okay. Okay. Declare that carried. Thank you. The next item is ENV 03624 Development and Building Q4 Metrics Report. And before we move to any discussion, I'd like to get Ms. Askew to give us an overview, please.
Good evening, everyone, through you, Chair. Just in relation to the Q4 statistics that have been circulated, I'll focus more on the issues that we have at hand at the moment, and if there's anything that we need to do in comparison to other Q4s or any parts in the other reporting periods, I'm happy to take questions on that. So I suppose there's two areas that we need to look at that on the surface don't look as improvements, but from our business unit they are improvements. So we have had our medium times go up on the determination of our applications, but that's been based on the staff looking at older applications on hand. So whilst we've determined more applications, we've determined some long-standing applications in the system that have put the medium timeframes higher than what we had in the last reporting period. In addition to that, the staff have been working hard in the Building Information Certificate area of Council, because that was an area where we weren't determining applications as quickly as we would like to. So there's been a major push in that space to determine applications, and those medium times have dropped significantly. In doing so, we've also sent in the reporting period 16 applications to the local planning panel for determination. They are required to go to the local planning panel based on ministerial directions, and also councillor delegations that were issued by the previous general manager. So in that reporting period, we've had 16 applications go to that panel. All 16 applications have been determined in accordance with officer recommendations. We've had one application that's been before the Sydney South Planning Panel in their last reporting period, and that was also determined as per officer recommendation. At the moment, we have 200, well, the time of the writing of this report, 234 applications on hand, and so 191 DAs, 38 mods, and 5 reviews of applications. We currently have applications within the appeal system, around about 25 on hand at the moment, which are mostly all got dates for either Section 34 discussions for mediation or hearing dates where the Section 34s have not gone in accordance with what the council is seeking, council officers are seeking. Most we only have 4 CCs on hand, no CDCs. And so, yeah, I suppose for us, we've been looking at making sure that we determine those long-standing applications that have been in the system, because they do result in escalations and not a lot of certainty in the development space. So that's certainly been our push over the last 6 months, and I think we've certainly made some progress and some traction in that space. I suppose just on the staffing updates, we've done a lot of recruitment of late. We look like we may have secured 2 principal planners and a potential senior planner. We've got some good operating consultants on board at the moment that are doing quite well in the space, helping us trying to move some of those applications through. So we're hoping that we will be successful in the recruitment stage, and the next reporting period will be able to let you know that we are at full capacity. So that's probably all I can report at the moment. I'm happy to take any questions, and yeah, thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Askew. Can I call for a mover and seconder on that report, please?
Yes,
Sorry, Councillor Catras and Councillor Jellison. Sorry, you're moving it, Councillor Catras?
Yeah, that's fine. I can do it.
That's all right.
Oh, I
Yeah,
don't mind whichever. I just had a question actually, but
Okay, go ahead.
his that 11, 74, 76 and 78, I think that's in your councillor.
Okay.
Is that the one that's getting, the one that had all the water pooled and everything, and it's still getting refusal because it's sort of like in mid, like the previous development?
Apparently there's building defects and there's health issues as well, and both departments are looking at those issues.
It's still getting refused, because I think the issue was that they were trying to actually get it through, but it's like, yeah.
can answer that,
Yes, please.
Chair, if
Thank
that's
you.
help you. You're talking about the properties at 1174 to 1178 Forest Road at Lugano. They have been before the local planning panel where they were seeking to do some amendments to. I'll go back further. It was a complying development approvals on those 3 properties, and they built not in accordance with the approved plans. They lodged applications to seek some amendments to the built form in order to get the applications determined through a DA for the works that they're proposing to do to bring it more into conformity with council's controls. There was some major defects with those applications, particularly around the driveway grades to the basements. Also, we had building information certificates that were running hand in hand with those development applications. There were some major non-compliances and some elements of the development that we couldn't ascertain through the building information certificate process, structural, what's sitting behind the wall, so amenity of that building and whether those actual dwellings can be habitated. So the application for the DAs went before the local planning panel within this reporting period, so 3 of those are within the report, and they were refused. And the building information certificates also, but they were outside of that particular process. So whether they go to appeal, we're not sure exactly where they stand at the moment, but we will look at pursuing the orders process, which we already had sitting in abeyance until these applications were determined.
Thanks, Ms. Askew. Any other questions or comments from the councillors? In that case, we'll go to a vote.
Madam Deputy Mayor,
For.
Councillor Marnie.
For.
Councillor Amby Haberhart.
For.
Councillor Jamison.
For.
Councillor Catras.
For.
Councillor Lansbury.
For.
Councillor Wang.
For.
That's 7 votes for. Unanimous.
Thank you. I declare that carried. The last item is E&V 03724, planning proposal for gateway determination, 84D Roberts Avenue, Mortdale. And before we move to any discussion, I'd like to ask Ms. Singh to give us an overview, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening to you all. This report is about a planning proposal submitted in about April-May 2024 that seeks to amend Schedule 1, additional permitted uses of the Georges River Local Environmental Plan to introduce a medical center as an additional permitted use on the subject land, which is 84D Roberts Avenue, Mortdale, and it's called the Mortdale Plaza. The site is about 11,000 square meters, and this is called the Mortdale Plaza. It's a shopping center. So the objective of the planning proposal is to enable a medical center to operate in this shopping center as a complementary use to the existing retail and center-based childcare facilities that are already on the schedule. And reasons, like some of the reasons for undertaking the planning proposal are it has strategic merit. It is consistent with objectives and actions of a number of state, regional, and local strategic plans. The proposed medical center is to be contained within the existing building structure of the site, so therefore there's no identified environmental constraints. The traffic report accompanying the planning proposal concludes that it will not have any adverse impact on the road network capacity or parking or access requirements. The economic statement, which is accompanying the PP, also concludes that there's a clear need for additional medical services within the catchment area of the Mortdale Plaza. The establishment of the medical center would also help alleviate the current undersupply of GPs, create new jobs, and support the local economy. Recently, the Georges River Local Planning Panel also considered this matter at its meeting on the 1st of August and supported the proposed amendment and endorsed it to be forwarded to the New South Wales Department of Planning, Housing and Infrastructure for a gateway determination to exhibit. The report recommends supporting the proposed amendment to Schedule 1 and endorse it to be forwarded to the department for a gateway determination. The next steps would include, once we get the gateway determination from the department, consideration of like exhibition, consideration of submissions, getting council endorsement for the planning proposal to be made. So that's from my side. I'm happy to answer any questions, councillors.
Thank you, Ms. Singh. Could I call for a mover and seconder, please? Councillor Catras and Councillor Jamieson. Thank you. Is there any discussion from the council? Is there any questions? Nobody? Okay, in that case, I'll put the motion and we'll go around the room for that one, please.
Madam Deputy Mayor.
For.
Councillor Marnie.
For.
Councillor Amby Haberham.
For.
Councillor Jamieson.
For.
Councillor Catras.
For.
Councillor Lansbury.
For.
Councillor Wang.
For.
7 votes for, unanimous.
Okay, thank you. I declare that one carried. Before we close, let us thank my fellow councillors, fellow committee members for excusing me from the last 3 meetings, and I thank Deputy Mayor Borg for acting as chair in my absence. There's been no other business on the agenda. I declare the meeting closed at 8:01 p.m. Thanks, everybody.